Alright guys, welcome back. Okay, so I showed you guys the very standard build where it's basically the core and hand traps, right? That was a very simplistic, very generic, very standard list, right? It's very straightforward. Whereas this one, I'm going to incorporate the Halquifibrax sequence, right? So it increased the ceiling drastically because it gives you another line of play apart from just having a consistent Stardust result mode and then just surviving off that, right? That's the whole purpose of it. To have more than just one and generate some resources through librarian draw, right? Okay, so first off, let's get started with triple Stardust assault mode, right? This is your boss monster of the deck. Typically, synchro decks or high sequence synchro decks wouldn't have a boss monster within the deck, which is this kind of like a hybrid because you kind of need, it's partially a main deck boss monster and partially extra deck monster because you need Stardust to make it and summon this card. But it makes it really interesting in that regard, right? And then of course you have your consistency card, which is your Assault Sentinel, right? So basically this is one of the most recent support for the deck itself. Without this deck would not be viable like whatsoever. So basically what this does, you tribute this card and special summon a monster that list somewhat activate in the text, right? So you can summon this guy or summon your Assault Beast, which is pretty neat. But more often than not, you're always gonna go for your Side Reflector, right? Side Reflector. This card is amazing because this card alone lets you make Halquifibrax just with a singular card. But you have to do it by drawing him by himself, because if once you use his effect, you're bound to synchro summoning. So what this one does, you tribute summon this, special summon this, but then you're bound to only synchro summoning. So you can't do the Hulk sequence. So you're gonna want to open this, and with the way the deck's built, it's not gonna be too hard to do so, right? And this is like your main concept of the deck. The main strategy is to get to this guy as fast as possible, right? And then this is gonna be the new addition to the deck, which is what I was mentioning earlier in the video. So to facilitate Halquifibrax, you're gonna need non-normal summon cards, monsters, right? Because your primary summon, it's gonna be these guys. These are your primary summons, and these are gonna be your secondary, or vice versa, which is a good thing about this, right? You can play triple Tenyi Spirit Adara, right? So basically, if you control the monsters, you can special summon these cards, or no effect monsters. Excuse me. You can special summon this from your hand, right? It's only once per turn. So this is how you summon your Halquifibrax, right? And this is amazing. It's so good because they work with Wararfda, which is what you're playing in this deck. So they're both don't utilize your normal summon, which is why I'm not playing the typical boost warrior or turbo booster as you saw with the level 1 synchro deck that I've been really fond of. Because these, like, you can special summon these, but that's after you normal summon, and you kind of want to do the Hulk without having you to normal summon, because I mean you haven't invested completely. So that's one thing to note. And they work with Wararfda, which is really good. And yeah, it's really good. Okay, so then you have your, I guess this is the hand trap that's like basically inherently perfect for the deck, right? Because it fights against your weakness, which is Ash Blossom. Because the good thing about this guy, like let's say this is your only line of play, it tributes as cost, right? So if they Ash this, then you can chain Gamma and then make a Stardust or an Omega from there, or just use that to make your Halquifibrax, which is amazing, right? And same thing when you go for once you got to the point where they want to just wait for this guy for you to set this, because you tribute your Stardust Dragon as cost, and then Ash you there. Although you're still trading one for one, you know, because you use one card to make the Stardust style mode. So like it's not too drastic, but you don't want to be in that situation where you get ashed and you just lose your setup, right? Of course, the one driver, the driver, and then you have your one-ums, right? You have your Assault Beast, your Mega Phantom Beast, and then up here, like that. That's a little bit better. Mega Phantom Beast, and then your Despot 01. I was playing Jet Synchron, but already with the immense amount of bricks you play, you kind of want to minimize it. Although Jet Synchron is not really a brick, because on its own it just becomes a Halquifibrax, right? but it's not really needed. Like you don't really want to be playing it if it's not essential to the deck, right? That's basically what it comes down to, which is why I'm not playing any more hand traps, because this is like inherently part of the deck, right? Because it promotes what you're trying to accomplish. Whereas Ash is interactive, but it's not necessarily something that you actually need to play. It's an amazing interaction, but as far as cutting to the point where you want to get close to 40, which is what this deck is, it's as close as it could possibly get. You needed to like make those tough decisions, right? And yeah, but it's really good. And you play just the one beast because the only time you want the one beast is when you hard open this, right? Because typically you would have a material, if you tribute this, reveal your trap, right, to reborn it. But when you open up just this, you don't have a material, so you need to search a material. So that's what this comes in handy for. You add this, pitch it, and it gets it up into the graveyard, and then that becomes your material to revive. Yeah. You can play multiples, like I mentioned in the other video, because it actually might make much more sense in the other build. Because in the other build, I was playing this guy, right? I was playing this guy because you pitch Assault Mode 0, and it gives you a first turn Stardust Assault Mode. But with this particular build, you're bound by strictly Synchro summoning. It doesn't matter before or after. It's that turn. So it kind of contradicted with the deck itself, and I was like, oh, I can't. I mean, you could play it, but it's a bit much when you have to like be bound by that restriction. I mean, I put something similar to what its purpose was, and yeah, you'll see what I mean. And then you have your extenders, right? You have your teleport, summons your gamma, summons your Cyber Reflector, which is not bad at all. Then you have your 1-for-1 Cyber Reflector, any of the other ones you have. And then of course you have your Reborn. Reborn is just Reborn. It's amazing. Reborn anything. Reborn your Stardust, and then set your excess amount of assault activates to make another. You know, it's really good. And then you have like your other spells, your consistency card, right? Which is tanky. Tanky searches your Assault Sentinel, right? It searches these guys and your Assault Beast. And then of course you have more consistency card, which is War After. War After searches your Cyber Reflector, which is why I'm playing Jester and Adara. You can go special, and then activate this to have your Stardust Assault Mode play after you do the Hulk sequence, which is really good because you'll end on double Stardust Assault Mode with the Herald, and then just try to pump the third one the following turn. And then of course you have your Call by the Grave. It's essentially similar purpose to what Gamma does, where you do not want your Assault Mode activate or your Cyber Reflector or your Assault Sentinel to be negated by Ash, and it just basically just stops that, and it's really good. It's not too bad as an interaction as well. You hit Block Dragon, hit the Eldritch, their Lord, right? Yeah. And this is the one that's kind of similar to what the purpose this one had. It's gonna be Fool's Bill of Goods, right? Because this sends your Assault Mode 0, right? It's essentially fulfilling the same purpose, which is what you want. You want to be able to summon Stardust Assault Mode as frequently as possible and as often as possible. So this sends this, and what this one does is you can banish it from your graveyard to set this one in your deck, and you can use it that turn, which is really good. So you can even set one from your hand, which is neat, right? So you can set it and you can use it that turn, and then you start summon your Stardust Assault Mode that turn, and then continue from there with your Hulk sequence, which is really good. Then your Assault Mode activate, and then that's basically the deck. It's 43 cards because of this, but I wanted to stay close to 40 since majority of you really like sticking to that limit. But me personally, I wouldn't mind going a little bit above because you play so many bricks, right? Already, like you have 3, 6, 9 with the Assault Modes, right? So you need to filter it some way to spread it out and not see these as often as you typically would. Which is you can be kind of contradicted because you're going to be drawing so much, right, off a Librarian. So you don't want to draw these, but which is the reason why you play this at 3. Because even if you do draw so much, you can just special them from hand, which is still good. Yeah, that's the main deck. Okay, so the extra deck, it's gonna be, you have your Linkross, right? Your standard lineup to set up your librarian draws. Linkross, Borkade board blocker. This is another way you can discard your zeros as well. Once you get to this point of the sequence, you discard this and then banish it to set your thing from your deck, which is nice. So that means the fact that you have that as an access point, that means you can cut down on these as well. If you're really like fussed about like keeping it closer to 40 and not being as bricky, like you just play one as like a toolbox type of thing, you know, just for the sense of fulfilling its purpose, not necessarily having an abundance of cards that do a particular thing. Whereas that's the, I guess, the mindset I'm looking at it. I want to just open this and like and this, right? Open that and these guys, so I can just get the thing out of the way. So your blocker, then you have your Halquifibrax, and then of course your auroradon, right? This is the main links that you play, right? And then you have, of course, you have your Formula Synchron, your Martial Meta Marcher, your Herald the Arclight, Librarian, and you playing Stardust Charge Warrior. Typically you play this, but it's a Stardust deck, so let's keep it consistent and stay with the trend. Then because you're Savage, right? Savage, and then you have your Crocodile Dragon, because part of the sequence you can go into this, which is really good. And then of course you can even make it with Cyber Reflector, because you can make the Soul Sentinel or the Soul Beast level 5s. I mean level 8s. And of course the most important synchro of the deck, right, is your triple Stardust Dragon. Because without this deck wouldn't be the deck that it is. So that's basically it. Something to know, something I've been just juggling back and forth on whether I need to draw power, right? Because, like I said, you don't really want to be drawing into this as it is. You're not really playing that much hand traps. You're not playing imperm, so there's like not really something you want to be drawing into, you know? Like there really isn't, apart from just the gamma, which is it'll be more live often than not because you tribute your Stardust Dragon. So it's not like you're bound by like, oh, there's not gonna be a monster on the field, then I can't really use gamma. Which most likely you will, because everything tributes its cost. Like Herald tributes its cost, though Stardust tribute its cost, you know, and it's like, so it's much more frequent to be live. Whereas in the other builds, you have like Ash, Imperm, Veiler to draw into. So it makes me kind of question whether I actually need to utilize this at all, you know? Because like you can like just easily cut this. Like you don't need to play this because you wouldn't be playing the linkross, right? You wouldn't be playing that. So you can cut this, and just keep it very generic and very simple, right? Like cut these two, right? You can even cut this, and then it'll just be like this, and just add toolboxiness, like add like more link monsters, like the Nightmare package or of that sort, you know, like just to, or just add a generic synchros like Black Rose, which is something you couldn't easily do because you can manipulate the level, right? You can make this guy, of course, if you wanted to. You can make Black Rose, you can make Omega, you can make Dragster, right? So like that's like the dilemma I'm in right now at the moment in the process of building this particular deck. Like, I'm not sure if this is actually needed, or more so like it's more so because like I'm like, well, if I resolve the combo, might as well just go all in and try to like get the most out of it, right? But I'm not sure if that's the proper way to approach it. You know what I mean? Like, because once you resolve that, you're out of toolboxiness. You can't really like bounce something, or you can't like you know what I mean? You can't like toolbox your way into like getting certain things off the field, right? Whereas this is good against like back row decks. This is good against like a weird scenario where you bait stuff and you pop and then you attack, and like little things like that. Whether I'm not sure if that's even remotely better than compared to just getting over and done with this. But it's something I'm gonna keep testing, and that's basically it. Of course, something that you have to keep in mind. I want to play something along the like, back to the front. I was testing this, but back to the front just inherently better. Like this is nice too. So what this one does is basically I'll let you read it there. So, target one monster that cannot be normal summoned set in either graveyard. Special summon it. So it's a reborn for either player's graveyard, basically. And seeing how fast the format is and what the top decks are, you're bound to have something in the graveyard. Like when they link away their Hulk, revive the Hulk and it uses the effect. Like that's insane. Like how crazy is that? Or just reviving like used up 11 years, just bodies that you can just use. You know, like reviving a Savage after you Nibiru just as a beater. It's things like that. But I think Back to the Front it would just be inherently better because what I saw myself doing a lot of the times is having a Cyber Reflector engrave, and I couldn't revive it to make another one. It was like, ugh. So I think Back to the Front would be better because like you can just do it so frequently, and it's pretty insane. But like I mentioned before in the previous build, since it's a little bit more 1-for-1-y, right? It's very okay trade-off because Stardust Dragon like trades off as a 1-for-1, right? So you need equalizers, right? So you need like blanket type of equalizers, like evenly matched Nibiru, right? Like yeah, Nibiru, right? Because like I said, you're trading off 1-for-1 with your Stardust Dragons. What the hell are they? Where are they? What the hell? Where'd they go? Oh, here they are. Like with your Stardust Dragons, right? You're just trading off like 1-for-1. Like you're 1-for-1ing, right? Like negate 1-for-1, okay? But then sometimes that might not be enough. So you need like those unfair blowout cards, like Nibiru, like you know, because like once it's off the field, you're gonna get it back. It actually works like perfectly with Nibiru because you won't lose it. It'll come back during the end phase, and you have Nibiru, or like evenly matched, right? Just things like that to just equalize your I guess your matchup, because it's something that you have to consider. And something in the past, if you guys have seen the previous builds, I was playing Trap Trick and what's it called and this, right? Because you main deck Back to the Front, and then you can constantly keep bringing back this guy, and you keep stunning your opponent and locking them out of the extra deck, which is huge. Having a Stardust sub mode and then like locking them out of the extra deck, it's insane against like Rock. Like, what are you gonna do? They can just sit on bodies, you know? And then but yeah, I don't know. It's something I just keep experimenting with. But that's anyway. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe if you haven't, and thanks for watching.